Ancient Rome was among the most prosperous and beautiful empire during the 1st century BC. The capital city was located on the intersection between the Tiber River and the smaller river, the Anio River. It was positioned at the lowest bridging point of the Tiber, due to a small island being positioned in the middle at the time.
The city of Rome was surrounded by the Apennine Mountains that ran from the northwest territory of Italy to the southeast center of the peninsula. This gave the Romans a natural defense that delayed any outside invasions from taking place, and provided the Romans even more time to build up their army before a battle. However, the Appian Way was later built over the smaller mountains to make passage easier.
The 7 hills were a trademark when it came to the landscapes of the city itself. It contained the Capitoline, the Palatine, the Aventine, the Esquiline, the Coronal, the Viminal, and the Celian. Each hill had a different population depending on the class. The Capitoline Hill, referred to as the head of the world, was the smallest of the bunch. It was also the religious center of Rome, being dedicated to the Roman gods Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. The Palatine Hill was known for the housing of emperors, senators, and famous poets.
These hills, like the mountains, provided the Romans with extra protection. The areas between the larger hills were essentially swamplands that were thick and difficult to traverse. They were later drained by the Romans to make traveling easier for them.
Rome was perfectly positioned on the peninsula so that they would easily be able to gain control over the entire country and the surrounding lands of the Mediterranean Sea. They had several infamous military leaders that conquered these lands that we still talk about today in our history classes. Some military tactics used in ancient Rome are still used today. Caesar's salad is named after one of the most famous military leaders in Rome. Caesar's salad is most...
Julius Caesar?
Julius Caesar Salad was a military general before he became the dictator of Rome. He defeated the Helvetians of Transalpine Gaul, the modern-day France, conquering the territory and placing his own form of government over the land. The Germans also tried going for this land. By Caesar and his army teaming up with the Otic Gallic tribe, they defeated the Germans through sheer discipline in 58 BC.
The Nervi, the leading tribe of the Celtic Belgae, went to war with Caesar due to their fear that he would conquer all of Gaul. They fought heroically, but were soon overwhelmed by Caesar commanding his troops with an iron fist. By 56 BC, Caesar had conquered most of Gaul, as expected. His victories led to his capture of North Africa, Spain, and the lands along the Rhine River.
Caesar's unquenchable thirst for power led to his rise to become the dictator of Rome by defeating Pompey, a member of the Triumvirate. Not only did Pompey have more men, 45,000, compared to Caesar's 22,000, Pompey's camp was upheld, giving him a heightened advantage.
Despite these factors, Caesar was still able to defeat Pompey. Pompey fled to Egypt, asking the pharaoh for redemption. Instead, the pharaoh cut his head off and sent it to Caesar as a gift.
However, there were many other successful generals in ancient Rome besides Caesar. Gaius Marius was actually the man who shaped the Roman army that we know today.
Legions, created by Gaius Marius, consisted of about 5,500 professional soldiers. They served for 25 years and were not supposed to marry. Each legion was commanded by a legatus, assisted by 6 military tribunes. The Praefectus Castrorum, or the Prefect, was responsible for general administration and for engineering.
Below the Prefect were 60 centurions who were responsible for training and discipline. A legion was made of 10 cohorts, which consisted of 80 to 100 men, led by centurions.
The average soldier wore a helmet that covered his neck up, made out of iron or copper. They all wore mail over their tunics that stopped above their knees. Legionaries, however, carried oval-shaped shields made of wood and sealed with iron or copper. Soldiers on the front line carried thrusting spears. In the third and second lines, soldiers carried throwing spears called pilums. Everyone, however, carried a double-edged thrusting sword.
The life of a soldier was stressful and intense. They had to train twice a day by marching 18 miles in their full suits of armor. The soldiers had to be able to travel a total of 20 miles in the frame of 5 hours. Since they had to walk to get to all of their destinations, they needed to be trained to journey quickly on a time limit.
When soldiers had to switch to their mobile formation, they packed up their equipment, tents, and weapons. They then formed into groups of 8 so that they could bring all of their weapons together to make carrying them easier. Each collection of weaponry weighed approximately 40 pounds.
These groups of men then formed columns of soldiers to march to their destination. Cavalry scouts were sent ahead to search for quality campsites and keep a lookout for potential daytime ambushes. The main troops were required to set up guard for the night and dig out ramparts. These ramparts were ditches dug around the campsite while the dirt was used to be piled on top of the mound. Stakes were then placed on top to form a palisade surrounding the camp.
Auxiliary forces, another part of the legion, included cavalrymen, archers, lancers, and specially trained soldiers. They were generally used to keep peace in places that were unrest.
The Praetorian Guard created by Scipio Almaenus consisted of 9 to 12 cohorts that consisted of 500 to 1,000 men each. They were paid more than legions and served only 16 years. The Guard was disbanded by Constantine I.
Rome's navy, maintained mainly by Augustus, was treated as an auxiliary force. There were naval bases in Forum Iulae, Misenum, and in Ravenna.
Overall, the Romans used geography of ancient Rome to their advantage in order to conquer land with their great military and leaders. You think she'll think this is cute?
Or maybe she'll fail us.